So it goes without saying, all of us have found a pubic hair in our McChicken before, right? Am I the only one? But no, seriously, finding stuff in fast food has become sort of a meme in a way. Like, you have these news articles coming up that show people finding, dead rats in their KFC fried chicken. It's kind of ridiculous how much stuff slips through the cracks. But in today's video, we're not doing a whatever happened to episode. This is gonna be more of an overview of a strange case that happened back in 2005. This is the case of the Wendy's chili finger. Happy October, it's time to get freaky. On March 22nd, 2005, Anna Ayala, a woman from Las Vegas, was traveling and decided to stop into a Wendy's, which was located just south of downtown San Jose, California. Anna doesn't particularly eat at Wendy's too often, but was really hungry and in a pinch decided to stop into the restaurant. She parked her car, walked into the restaurant, approached the front counter, and ordered a small bowl of chili for $1.19. After the kitchen prepared her chili, she paid for her meal and went to go sit down in the dining area at one of the booths. She began to crush up her saltine crackers, sprinkle them on the chili, and mix it in, which, if you weren't aware, is the premier way of eating chili. So she mixes up her concoction and begins to dip her spoon in to take the first bite of the chili. She takes a bite.
It's pretty good.
She takes a second bite. Pretty damn good chili. But on the third bite, she feels something that could only be described as a hard, crunchy texture. And as soon as she feels this crunchy texture, she spits the chili out onto the table. And after spitting this object out on the table, she looks at it and is met with complete horror at this object that she has just expelled from her mouth. That crunch was the fingernail of a decapitated finger, which has somehow lodged itself in this bowl of chili. After this discovery, she begins screaming and completely freaking out, telling all the patrons in the restaurant to stop eating their food. This place has contaminated products. She just found a human finger inside of her bowl of chili. She took the finger to the front desk and demanded an explanation from the employees of Wendy's. The employees of Wendy's were looking at this finger saying, this is just a vegetable or something. There's no way it could be a finger. And this goes without saying, police were definitely called to the scene. The restaurant would be shut down for the remainder of the day, and police and investigators were sort of scratching their heads trying to figure out where the hell this finger came from. So the following day, the county health officials did verify that this was in fact a finger and in no way was some sort of vegetable. And this story began picking up and got national coverage. You had people nationwide completely terrified of the idea of eating at a Wendy's, because who knows what's going to show up in your chilies. I mean, are you going to get a toe or like a damn earlobe or something? No one was eating at Wendy's.
Now we turn to the story everybody is talking about, the finger in the Wendy's chili, and left people with a lot of questions. The case is now like something out of a CSI. Investigators are conducting DNA tests, hoping to find the owner of the severed finger. Officials at Wendy's say they've checked all of their chili suppliers and none have reported an injury of this kind.
Well, Robin, if this came from a processing plant, then somebody was horribly injured. But more than that, there was a terrible process control failure.
This discovery about your chili.
Well, as I was eating my chili, and I usually crack all my crackers and just put them in there, mix it all around, and started eating the way usually people eat. And suddenly I chew something that's kind of hard, crunchy, spit it out. At first I wasn't sure what it was. And as we started investigating, poking it, other people too, that's when we find that there's something that looks like a nail.
So most people naturally were pointing their fingers at Wendy's. They had to be the ones responsible for this. I mean, how else would the finger get in the chili? But Wendy's published its own self-audit, which showed that no employees in the Wendy's restaurant had had any sort of hand or finger injury. And in fact, none of the factories that were responsible for producing the Wendy's chili products, well, none of them had had any injuries either. So at this point, either Wendy's was lying or someone else was to blame for this finger. And it's funny because I remember being 12 years old at the time this story broke. My parents both were avid Wendy's customers. Like, they really enjoyed going to Wendy's to get Frosties. And because of this news story breaking, I remember we didn't go to Wendy's for like damn near a year. I guess a finger is enough to just keep us away for a year, but still, Wendy's was taking heat from this and they couldn't explain how the hell it got in there. And police were having a lot of trouble tracking down any possible matches for the finger, like who had a finger that was amputated in the past months or so, so maybe they could DNA cross match it and find the owner of the finger. Well, a lead did surface a month later in April. A woman named Sandy Allman had recently lost her finger after being attacked by a mountain lion. And this woman lived about 60 miles from Las Vegas, so she was in the general area. But when she was in the emergency room, the finger was somehow lost. Could this be the finger that somehow ended up in the Wendy's chili? Well, it wasn't, because police took a DNA test from Sandy and matched it with the finger found in the Wendy's chili. It wasn't a match. This finger cut off by a mountain lion was not the Wendy's finger chili. As no leads were showing up and Wendy's self-audits had pretty much proven there was no way it was sourced from their side, police started to get suspicious of the alleged victim herself, Anna. Some damning evidence came up of her fraudulent legal history in the past. See, she is a chronic abuser of the legal system. She's tried to set up companies and sue them in the past. From fast food restaurants to a case with Ford Motors to a case with a former employer and a local Mexican restaurant which she actually sued and got a settlement from, this woman has a long history of trying to get lawsuits started with restaurants. In fact, this local Mexican restaurant I was talking about, El Pollo Loco, she was able to actually win a settlement against them whenever she claimed her daughter became sick after eating at the restaurant. So this was a red flag for police and investigators because this was suggesting that perhaps somehow Anna had a finger that she put in her own chili. With this revelation in mind, police quickly got a search warrant for her house and went in looking for any type of evidence that could implicate her in the crime of the planning of the Wendy's chili finger. And after searching her house, police didn't make any statement onto what they had found in there. But on April 21st of 2005, seemingly out of the blue, Anna Ayala was arrested, taken into custody for felony grand larceny and grand theft. The grand theft charges were actually old and related to a case where she sold her boyfriend's trailer when it wasn't actually hers to sell. And the grand larceny charges, well, there had been some evidence that surfaced that pretty much proved she was the one who planted the chili finger. And this evidence came by way of a tip line that Wendy's had set up. See, Wendy's had no idea where this finger came from, and they opened a tip line basically offering a $10,000 reward if anyone could give them any information as to where the chili finger came from. An anonymous person called the tip line and claimed the finger belonged to a friend of Anna Ayala's husband, this friend named Brian Paul Rossiter. He had lost his finger back in 2004 during an industrial accident and had sold the finger to Anna Ayala, well, to pay off some sort of debt that he owed her. Now, this is obviously a red flag. I mean, why would somebody buy a finger if they weren't planning on using it in the future for some sort of heinous fraud? With all this evidence compiled, Anna and her husband were both charged. Anna sentenced to 9 years and her husband sentenced to 12 years respectively for the conspiracy. Anna would get out after only serving 4 years of her sentence, but would end up going back to prison because of another fraudulent scam she pulled. Anna has a son named Guadalupe who was a felon, and one day with his gun, which he is not allowed to be in possession of, accidentally shot himself in the ankle. To protect her son from charges based at a felon owning a firearm, she implicated 2 other men, basically saying that they shot her son, which was a complete lie. And prosecution ended up finding this out, and she ended up going back to jail for another 2 years in 2013, which she's finally out of prison now. Who knows when she'll go back. But what do you guys think about the Wendy's chili fingers story? There's a lot of very odd hoaxes revolving fast food stuff. If you guys want to hear more odd cases like this, definitely let me know. But yeah, that's the Wendy's chili finger story. Make sure you guys check out my sponsor at Cool Shirts. I got this bad boy right here from them, that online crime. 10% off code is in the description box. Shout out to the patrons. I appreciate y'all so much. Wavy Web Surf out. Peace.